Welcome back, everybody. So we're talking about the 1985 Chevrolet Camaro California IROC. This is the car I was talking about, so if you haven't seen the first video, check it out. I'll talk a little bit about the car and some of the history of it again. It's a car that's been sitting since 1996 in non-op state, and I'm trying to get it back on the road and start it up and going. So from where I left off last time, the thing I've been focused in on is trying to get the fuel system going. So the biggest thing about the fuel system is the fuel injectors. So in order to do the fuel injectors, I literally had to take off the fuel rail, and doing the fuel rail entails basically taking off the plenum, the runners, valve covers, and everything else just to get at the fuel system. So I've been able to do that, and actually ran into a bit of a snag trying to get one of the bolts out here in the front, but I was able to get it out with a vice grip off of the manifold without damaging anything, so that's great. So I ordered a new bolt for that. Things are also, I'm noticing a lot of the rubber components are pretty trash, so I started buying and put new belts on the car. I put 2 of the belts on last night, and I've got some other ones and that just came in as well too, a serpentine belt and another V belt for the air pump. And looking at that also tells me the same thing with the hoses for coolant, but I think I'm going to wait until I can get the car started before I do the coolant system. I'll do that later. But I just figured since I was in there I would do the belts because I got the alternator off. Here's the belts that came in as well too. So I'm trying to stick with AC Delco and just about everything, just to try to keep the car as original as possible. And you can see on these belts they're all original, you know, and they're in GM, so they're the original belts, and they're in pretty tough shape, really dried up and crispy. So yeah, those are coming together, and I've been able to clean some stuff a little bit underneath there as well too. I took the hood insulation off because it was saturated with oil. I don't know why, but I think at some point in time either the air conditioning compressor's been replaced, so it could have been where it blew a bunch of oil into the hood insulation, or it could have also been a power steering hose. I'm not quite sure, but either way I took it off because I was getting I'd hit it every time with my shoulder and I'd get just a amount of oil on my sleeve. And then I was wondering, what really threw me is that I saw a big puddle of oil on the floor, and I thought it was the transmission leaking, and it turned out it was just the oil in the hood had been running down here through the firewall and then dripping onto the ground. So that's how saturated it was. But solved that problem. The other thing that I did as well too is I've been able to fix the hood struts and the hatch struts, and I put new struts in, so now don't have to worry about using a vice grip or something to hold them up. And that's a lot more helpful as well too. So that's coming together. I got a new wheel that's been completely refurbished, original IROC wheel for the other side, the passenger side and the back, so that was a great find. Along with, I have a center cap that's an original IROC center cap, and that's actually been replaced as well to go with that as well too. So then I also ordered some gaskets for the intake and valve covers, so those are here. And then here is the fuel rail that's been taken apart, and I've actually taken all the injectors out and rebuilt the fuel rail with new O-rings and replaced the fuel pressure regulator. You can see how all that fuel is so like varnished. It's just sticky, nasty smelling brownish crud over everything. So used a lot of gum out to clean that varnish off of the inside of the rail. Replaced the fuel pressure regulator, as I mentioned. I got O-ring kits to be able to do that, and then got the cold start injector out as well too. And I'm still trying to source a couple of O-rings for the cold start injector insert here, and then on top of the injector itself I should be able to find this one. That's not a big deal. I did take the fuel injectors in to get cleaned and serviced from RC Fuel Injection over here in Torrance. They do a really good job. They're pretty well known. And RC fuel injection is pretty famous in the area, and there's a famous racer that owns the shop, and he's been serving the community for quite a while. So they do a really great job. They take all the old parts off, they give you those back. They basically wrap each one of these individually, they number them. Here's the cold start one as well. They put them all in a box, and you get results back, and your results tell you what was the before cleaning and after cleaning. The before cleaning, and I'm glad I took them in, and this is why I took them in, right, is because they're all clogged. Before cleaning, 4 of them were closed, a couple of them were dripping, and a couple of them were actually okay, but not near where they need to be as far as the cubic centimeters per minute. And then same with the cold start injector, that was only performing at about a third capacity. So yeah, that's good, and I'll be putting another video together to actually walk through putting these back in the rail, getting the rail all assembled before I go to drop it back in the motor. And I think we'll do a video with maybe even a time lapse of that to show folks kind of what that all looks like as I put the motor back together with the plenum and the runners. I've started to clean the outside of the runners up. These don't really clean up all that fancy, but I did get all the grease and dirt off of the outside. And then I want to probably clean the inside because they're all full of carbon, and get those a little bit more cleaner. So, but yeah, lots of stuff, just trying to get the grime off and pull it together. The other feat that I was able to accomplish last night was actually replace the spark plugs, which is no easy task because that 305 motor is really compact in the engine bay. It sits so low on the frame that it basically there's no access to get your hands in underneath the manifold. So you got to get underneath the car, reach up, and do a couple of them just by feel. But I was able to do it and get some new plugs in it, so that's great. So yeah, that's kind of the update of the car and the progress that I've been making with it. The other thing I did with the car too is I clay barred the car just to take off any impurities on it, and then it's really smooth now, the paint. And I did just hit it with some really basic rubbing compound on the back trunk lid, and it brought back a really great shine. But I'll probably do another video in the future as well too, showing some of the compounding of the car, just to bring some of the paint back, because it's an all original paint, and it'll definitely pop out a little bit more. There's a few scratches on it and a couple of other blemishes. It looks like just from storage, someone was running in and out of the garage maybe and ran some stuff up against it, but hopefully I should be able to bring some of that back without losing any of the original paint character on the car. So thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll keep forward with some other videos and how the progress is of the car, and keep walking folks through it. Subscribe below if you want to see more of the videos.